Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Cindy Howard, your host of the Positively Altered podcast. I am a chiropractic internist and nutritionist in private practice and an author of the book called Positively Altered, Finding Happiness at the Bottom of a Chemo Bag. This podcast is all about health, wellness, and things related with absolutely no filter. We love to just see where it goes and hopefully teach you a couple things along the way. My guest today is a repeat. So I'll let you guess who that might be because I'm not going to tell you yet. But I will give you a little hint. If you've ever thought about going into outer space, Mars maybe, that sounds lovely, I think. We're going to give you some good reasons why maybe from a neurological standpoint you should reconsider. So sit tight, grab a drink, comfy spot on the couch, take a quick listen to our sponsors. They're really important to me. We're going to be right back with this week's guest.
Hello, my name is Heather Lord, and I am the COO of Professional Health Products. Cutting corners is an all too common practice in the dietary supplement industry. When my father founded Professional Health Products, he sourced the cleanest, most biologically active ingredients from around the globe. Today, that commitment remains, which is why the finest healthcare practitioners, like Dr. Cindy, have trusted us for more than 40 years. We oversee the entire process in our manufacturing facility, from sourcing and formulation to manufacturing and labeling. Today, we offer over 300 unique products that can be tailored to the nutritional and homeopathic needs of each individual. Most recently, we launched a proprietary genetic test, allowing our practitioners to get even more dialed in to their patients' health. To learn more about Professional Health Products, please talk to your practitioner or visit our website at phpltd.com.
Today, your life is going to be altered. I'm Dr. Cindy.
Welcome to Infinity. We have worked hard to create an electronic claims website that is simple and user-friendly. This is the public side. You can log into your personal web portal here. This is your dashboard. You can personalize it to your liking here. Our main focus has been to allow you to submit and edit claims as easy as possible. You will find our claims editor and claims processing is simple to use and straightforward. Our quick action bar is where you can find your most important information. Most of these icons will take you directly to the claims the number represents. You can easily view if you have any messages in your inbox of any unread alerts by looking for these blue numbers. To view the rest of our training videos to get the most of your Infinity experience, click this icon. We hope you find this web portal simple and easy to use. Thanks for letting us serve you.
I'm Dr. Cindy. Who wouldn't want to join me for the Positively Altered podcast? Welcome back to the Positively Altered podcast. Super excited for a part 2, my first repeat guest ever. And no, he didn't pay me the big bucks to have him back. It's just that he's my friend and he's lots of fun and I enjoy having him. Dr. Matt Antonucci, second time's a charm. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's so good to be back. We had so much fun last time. I can't wait to see how wild things get this time.
Well, it's going to get wild. So as a chiropractic neurologist, right, all things brain, which always gets people a little nervous because I always think mine's a little off center and probably not as healthy as it should be. And yet I kind of like it there. I'm happy in my own little space. I love to learn things about brain function because I get to use that in a way that allows growth. So I'm excited to talk to you today and see where we're going to go.
Yeah.
But we're going to space or we're not going to space.
I don't know. I don't know if we are, but we want to.
We do. So rumor has it that we've had some Americans up in space. Yeah. Is it true? That's what the news says. It's true. Okay. Well, I've seen some articles where it's like, we didn't really land on the moon.
Oh yeah, no, those are all those conspiracy theorists. I mean, it's well documented. I mean, there's so many people that kind of can substantiate all that. I met people that were, on the original team, that actually were, managing in Houston and the whole project, and they just laugh about it when you talk about it. We didn't actually go to the moon, and we did. We had to, and that was a point in time in history where that was something that we had to do as a consequence of the situation that we're in with Russia and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I wasn't alive back then, but from all the people that I've spoken with, and I've spoken with some of the top people, we were there.
Okay, good to know, because I don't always believe everything I read, and
I wouldn't.
Clearly a lot of junk out there. Okay, but there's lots of other places to visit. Do you believe that there's life on other planets? Like, are there other little humans running around?
Oh my goodness, that's so hard. I mean, you kind of start to get a little bit, I don't know, what's it? Like theoretical. I mean, if you kind of look at how small we are in comparison to the size of the universe, it's almost, there has to be some other life form. I mean, are there humans out there? Humanoids? Who knows? I mean, we like to believe we're that special that there's nobody else exists besides us. But if you start looking at all the factors that create life and, what are the root causes of life? I mean, it's kind of hard to say that it's not out there. I mean, there's a recipe. You need carbon, you need oxygen, and most species. But one of the things that we start to look at is forces like energy. The energy that's out there, from gravity to all that other kind of stuff, is really one of the things that really drives life. So, I mean, all of these planets and celestial bodies, they all produce some sort of a gravitational field, some more than others. And that is one of the main things that we're finding is in some research is called a Bayesian prior. It's a hypothetical thing that you believe ahead of time that causes something. And gravity is really important in that realm.
So what got you, okay, so you study neurology, right? That's been your thing most of your adult life. And then how do you start getting interested in aerospace, and where's the connection?
That's a really good question. I literally just kind of here's a good pun for you, thrusted into it, right? So I live over in like the Cape Canaveral area. We call this the Space Coast. And I moved here in 2014 and I didn't know anybody. I moved here for a girl, that's not my wife, and I got a family and all this other kind of stuff now. But I started meeting a lot of people, and everybody's either an aerospace engineer, they work for NASA, they work for SpaceX, they work for Blue Origin, and that just became my circle of friends. And we started talking about like aerospace medicine, like in this whole study, it's a new field, but we need to care for people that go to space. We need to care for people that come back, and we need to care for people before they go to space. So there's healthcare around aerospace, and people started telling me, you know what, when people come back from space, they act just like they had a concussion. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's my language. That's what I do. I do concussions all day, every day. I've seen 5,000 or 6,000 concussions in my career. And I'm like, tell me more. Like, what do you mean they're just like concussion? And they're like, oh yeah, well, they have headaches and they're nauseous and they're dizzy and they can't think properly and they have a hard time sleeping and their balance is off and, their eye tracking's bad. Their vision's blurry. I'm like, yep, you sound just like a concussion. And then they started finding that when people come back from space, they actually have protein biomarkers in their blood and saliva that are the same as those that have in concussions. So we're really starting to say, okay, well, when you're going to space, are there concussive forces? And sometimes splashdown, some things like that, they can they can exceed G forces that are pretty high, 4, 5, 6, 7 Gs. But the threshold to have a concussion is 63 or 65 Gs. So we're not experiencing those types of forces. So we have a common physiological mechanism, pathophysiology, we call it, but we don't have the same kind of a trauma that's causing it. So my thought was, well, if the pathophysiology or the function of the body, the things that go wrong in the body are the same as concussion, maybe this type of an insult will be amenable to the type of work that we do. So we started getting a little bit deeper into that. And what we're finding is that when people come back from space, they get their driver's license removed for anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. They're not allowed to drive a car because their spatial awareness is so off. They literally don't know where the side of the road is. They don't know where other cars are. Their depth of perception is off. Also, where you probably get on like a roller coaster ride and you get nauseous, they come back to Earth's gravitational field and they're nauseous 24/7. Because they haven't been exposed to the levels of gravity that we've been exposed to here on Earth for millions of years. They were removed from it. So there's all of these things that just became very interesting to me. And the fact that we can, from a functional neurological standpoint, train people to adapt to these situations, I was kind of curious if we can do it. And so we're kind of in the middle of trying to figure that out. I'm working with University of Central Florida's College of Medicine, just create an aerospace program. And it's just been really interesting. But that's how I got kind of thrusted into space travel.
So what gets me thinking when I hear you talk about that, from, of course, my perspective is, do you also think that there's significant chemical and physiological changes that even happen on a cellular level from a nutritional standpoint that's affecting some of these outcomes?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. There's the mechanisms that we know happen, and there's the mechanisms that we hypothesize happen. So the ones that we know happen, the biggest challenge to space travel is space radiation. The oxidative stress, the free radicals that are produced, the inflammation that's a consequence of that. Right now, what they're doing is, one of my friends, his name is Richard Britton. He's up at the university. He's in Virginia Medical College there. He basically has a space radiation simulation lab. And what they're doing is they're subjecting rats to the same radiation that you're experiencing in space. And when they're sacrificed, and these are all, institutional review board approved research studies, they're sacrificing these rats and they're looking at their brain, and it literally looks like shrapnel went through their brain. The hippocampus, which is our librarian for memory, is just got bullet holes all through it. And that's obviously going to change your hippocampal, hypothalamic, pituitary axes, like with your hormones, with your adrenal hormones, your sex hormones, your thyroid hormones. So that whole axis is just destroyed with space travel. So those are the things that we know happen, but then there's the things that we think that happen. And the number one thing that we think that happens is because the only place you can be in true zero gravity is outside of Earth's gravitational field. There's no way to simulate that. There's no way to study it other than sending people out into space. Just the fact that the influence that gravity has on our whole nervous system changes our immune system, changes our chemistry, changes our blood flow. And so, from a nutritional standpoint, there's a lot of work. From a neurological standpoint, there's a lot of work. And, probably the most difficult thing about going to space has nothing to do with either one of those. The most difficult thing about going to space, and you maybe have seen this and not even known it, like you see sometimes in like Hollywood movies, like you'll see water and a space station. It's like little spheres, right, that are floating around in the atmosphere. And people like open their mouth and try to grab them. Well, in space, everything goes to a sphere shape. Well, one of the things that's filled with fluid that is not typically a sphere shape, it's more of an egg shape, are your eyeballs. And what ends up happening, you go to space, your eyeball turns into a sphere shape and people go blind. So it becomes basically your focal distance of your eyeball starts to change, and all of a sudden you can't see anything. So that's a huge problem. It's called SANS, S-A-N-S. And they have no solution for it. So there are so many challenges.
So we know that the eyes are the pathway into the brain. So if the eyes actually change to the point where we can't actually see, neurologically, what happens to all of these people and the deficits? Do they recover? Do they have permanent damage?
Yeah, well, that's the question, right? But you brought up a great statement there. We believe that the eyes are the greatest input to the brain. They're the greatest conscious input. Actually, the greatest input to our brain is our gravity system, our graviceptive system, our vestibular system. It's there all the time, whether you're sleeping, you're awake, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that gravity system is actually so old, it predates human beings. Trees have something called statocytes, and they're basically starch that sinks down to the bottom of a cell to tell a plant which direction to grow. People think that plants grow towards the sun. They don't grow towards the sun. They grow away from the earth. So, everything from that to jellyfish to fish, all the way through rodents to people, this gravitational system has not changed. It's the one constant on the planet Earth. And my theory, and this becomes a little theoretical and philosophical, if you will, but some of the conversations I'm having in these circles is that we cannot survive outside of Earth for any period of time because everything about living is based upon gravity. And this ties all back to us on Earth in a second here. If you think about it, something as foundational as conception, we could probably talk about this in your reproductive health, and some people don't really know how our plumbing and chemistry and stuff works in our body. Well, women, you have ovaries, and your eggs come out of your ovaries and they fall down your fallopian tubes. Well, down only exists where? Where gravity exists. And gentlemen, you have sperm, and sperm go into the fallopian tubes, and what do? They swim what direction? Up. Well, up doesn't exist if there's no gravity. So how do we conceive outside of gravity if that's how our system is designed to work? Is it that every single woman that copulates in space is going to have an ectopic pregnancy because the egg doesn't fall down the tube, the first sperm don't swim up? So everything, like just fundamental questions like that, are very difficult. Cindy, you know this. What starts labor? Right? So a baby's head pushing down on the cervix. That doesn't happen in space.
Right. So there's that natural rotation, right, of the baby altering, head goes down, comes out, rotates through, right? The spinal dural unwinding, right, which is the natural birth process. But, it's interesting because I think about, okay, so how counterintuitive is it that we put women on their backs with their feet up in these footrests? I like footrests better than stirrups, just for the record. And we expect them to shoot the baby out, right, without any difficulty, really against gravity.
I know.
So the baby's naturally know what to do with head down, and yet our obstetricians are putting us on our backs instead of squat. Maybe we should be squatting with them laying underneath us. I know there's a visual for everybody, but maybe
that's how it used to be done. It's just a lot more convenient now to be in stirrups or leg rests. So yeah, there's a lot of things that, in my professional opinion, I just have a hard time believing that we're ever going to make it to Mars or we're going to colonize Mars. But then again, back when we were talking about going to the moon, JFK says we're not doing it because it's easy. We're doing it because it's hard. Well, this is infinitely more harder than the moon. But if we can accomplish something like that, it would be really interesting to see it. Now we have not hundreds, but we have thousands, not even tens. We have tens of thousands of people working on this every single day to figure out how it's going to make it happen. I'm sure there may be some creative solutions, but I think just in this little conversation, you can see it's totally antithetical to how we actually live on Earth. It's opposite. So it's going to be very interesting. And I'll kind of make this one statement. I was in a room full of people that are a lot smarter than me, all these aerospace medicine people. And I said, just out of curiosity, you all knowing what you know, how many people here, if we're given the opportunity to, and $1 million, would you go to Mars? Not a single one of them put their hand up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder, though, if at some point in time, understanding what changes when we exit the atmosphere, are we intelligent enough at some point to be able to compensate then for those changes so that we could actually make it there, right? If we understand and could impede that, maybe we do stand a chance.
It's possible. The conversations that they're having is that we just don't adapt fast enough. But they're also thinking of all these human factors that will make it a little bit easier. Something that we didn't really know much about until we started doing isolation experiments. What they've done with these volunteers and people that were paid is they basically send them to like Antarctica, and they send them there, and they leave them there for months and months and months for isolation testing. And one of the things that they found so important is just a visual representation of being on Earth. They've noticed the difference between QEEG findings, hormone findings, cognitive function, just having a somewhat realistic image of not being in Antarctica in isolation. So what they've started doing in some of the new spacecraft that they're creating to go to Mars is they've created LED windows. And what's going to happen is these LED windows will always be an LED panel. And as you leave Earth's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. But eventually, when you go to Mars, Earth is about the size of a star in the sky. So what they do is they freeze the size of Earth in the window as you're traveling to Mars, so you don't feel that disconnected from Earth. And they're noticing now that changes people's cortisol, sleep regulation, all this other kind of stuff. So there are a lot of interesting things that we're doing to kind of help that journey to that. But there are so many questions that we still have unanswered. The trip to Mars, they're estimating, is going to take approximately, and some people say 2 years, some people say 3 years, one direction. Really depends on the timing, how far away Earth is from Mars and things like that. Just think about being cooped up with a couple people that you never met before in your life, and you're with them for 3 years, one direction, 3 years, another direction. There's a whole lot of social challenges, physical challenges, chemical challenges, all of these different things that just make it so fascinating.
Yeah, I don't think I'd sign up either. I need an out, right? Like I need that exit door if I don't like what I'm doing or how long I'm there. And 3 years is a long commitment to risk. I'd love to be able to think we can learn a lot, though, to bring back even to like today's medicine, right? And so I have to ask you about radiation. I'm a big proponent of being very careful ordering tests that emit radiation and the exposure. And we know people are exposed in their jobs, they're exposed through examination procedures, and sometimes they're really medically necessary and financially necessary based on your career. What can we learn from the detriment of radiation in aerospace to take back? There's lots of people that argue, right? Like, I am not a fan of radiating healthy tissue. I think there's a lot of damage that can be done. How do we mitigate that? Or how do we learn from the outer space experience to say, maybe this isn't always the right thing to do for our humans here on Earth either? Are we really causing disease by using techniques with radiation?
So the thing is with radiation, you've got to be very specific. I'm a stickler for words. Ionizing radiation is one thing, right? Because radiation covers a whole spectrum, all the way from radio waves to things that are really amazing, like photobiomodulation, like laser treatments, cold laser, things like that. And even on the opposite side, we stuff, far infrared, even UV has benefits to it. That's all radiation. And then we understand this concept called hormesis, right? Where a little bit might be good, a lot is bad. So we have to really find that dosing curve where radiation is bad. So, for example, going on a cross-country trip on an airplane, which you and I do a lot of, we're exposed to a bunch of radiation. Some studies show that could be as many as 10 or 15 spinal X-rays worth of radiation. Some of that might be hormetic, meaning it produces stress to your body that your body adapts to. However, when we start going to talk about the quantum of radiation and space radiation, and not only the quantum, but the type of space radiation, the type of radiation that exists outside of the atmosphere is completely different than what's here. The ozone layer blocks a lot of stuff. Clouds block a lot of type of radiation. There are so many things that are blocked by this beautiful protective environment that the great creator created us that we don't know anything about it at all. I mean, there are ionized oxygen molecules and hydrogen molecules and things like that. But anyways, some of the things that we are learning that we can take back here to Earth are things like molecular hydrogen. I talk a lot about that. That is one of the solutions they are contemplating with some of the space travel, making people drink molecular hydrogen infused water, breathing hydrogen infused air called Brown's gas, because it is the strongest antioxidant ever identified. It's basically, you can eat like 100 bushels of oranges and 1,000 bananas or something like that, and it basically the same oxidative capacity, reducing capacity as those things. So molecular hydrogen isn't one thing. Also shielding, different types of shielding for things like infrared radiation. I mean, there might be something with water infused metals and stuff like that. So we do need to protect ourselves from constant radiation. But the other thing we also have to kind of trust in is the fact that we are adaptive beings, right? We adapt to a lot of different things, and that as long as we don't go from 0 to a million in a year of radiation of something, people were freaking out about 4G to 5G and things like that. That still is undetermined if it's been a health consequence to us. But we hope that because there's more of that in the environment, we start to adapt to it. I mean, even if you just look at all the Wi-Fi that's around us right now and things of that nature, the hope is that we do have a hormetic adaptation to it where we actually develop more resilience, and it could fight off other things. It could fight off, infections better or things like that. So it's all, I guess, things that could be discussed.
Yeah, our adaptive immune system is actually quite fascinating. I kind of have this joke that if we didn't have a good immune system, we'd all be dead by the age of 2 with what we're exposed to, right? I mean, there's no way to avoid the evil of the world, no matter how you label things. And we do need to adapt, and most of us are pretty capable, right? And that's how we make it to 80, 90, 100 years old with what we're exposed to. So pretty fascinating. So, before we wrap up to take a break for the sponsors, I do want to just go one little spot with you, because you mentioned hydrogen water. So I'd love for people that have a little takeaway, right? Like, we've kind of depressed them. Like, here's all these bad things that potentially could be out there and we're unsure. Is that a good recommendation? Like, if people are going, okay, what can I do though in this realm of like what we learned from aerospace and protection do we go out and we buy the hydrogen bottle? Like, is that a good recommendation? What do you think?
So regardless of how you get it, there have been thousands of studies on molecular hydrogen, and there have been 0 studies that support any type of injurious effect. There have been a couple, when I say a couple, less than 10 that show no effect, and 900, 1,000 studies that have showed that it's effective. There are no contraindications. There's just different ways of doing it. And then the dosing is the big question. Like, how much do you actually need? Let's start. And also, how do you get it? Right. So there's a couple different ways that you can get it. Number one is through a chemical reaction with magnesium. Elemental magnesium mixing with water produces molecular hydrogen, but also like magnesium oxide. So anyways, you can drink that. Now everybody's like, oh, whose molecular hydrogen pills should I buy? There's literally one worldwide patent on molecular hydrogen pills, and everybody just white labels them. So go online, find the cheapest one you can possibly find, and that's the best one for you. Now, how much of that do you need to drink a day? When you start doing all of the different metrics of molecular hydrogen, like the number of molecular hydrogen molecules per water ratio, basically it all kind of comes out to be about the same. You need about 1.5 liters of molecular hydrogen infused water per day in order to receive the health benefits. And the health benefits usually take about 2 to 3 weeks to start up. But they could be absolutely life-changing for some people. The way that molecular hydrogen works is the more messed up you are, the more benefit you'll receive. The less messed up you are, you probably might not realize a whole lot. But the futures are what you're basing on at that point. It's been shown to decrease. I got to be careful how I say this because we don't want to make medical claims for things that have not been substantiated. It has shown benefit in Parkinson's disease. It has shown benefit in Alzheimer's disease, dementias. It has been shown benefit in psychiatric disorders, benefits for diabetes, benefits for obesity and weight loss issues, benefits for eczema and autoimmune conditions. Basically, if you make a list of anything you can think of health related, there's an article out there that probably shows molecular hydrogen is beneficial. That's the easiest one to do at home. Do those molecular hydrogen water bottles work? Well, the answer is sort of, kind of, yes, maybe. The different types of membranes that basically facilitate the reaction, it's electrolysis. You shoot electricity through water, and electricity splits the hydrogens and the oxygens, and then it has to go through a membrane that allows you to be able to infuse it into the water. The membrane's the most important thing. And from all the studies that I've read, the membranes that are made in Japan are the best membranes. So if you're going to look at some of these different technologies, if the membranes made in China or even the United States or wherever, the Japanese ones are supposed to be the best membranes, Japanese and Korean. As far if you want a brand that I'm not affiliated with, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about things like that.
Sure.
Okay. All right, cool. So there's a water bottle it's called the Echo water bottle. That seems to be the one that tests out the best as far as its reliability, the ability to produce the highest concentrations. And once again, 1.5 liters a day. And then there's other ways that you can do it that are a little bit more challenging, but could work potentially even better. Molecular hydrogen bathing, right? So the second largest organ in our body is our skin, following our GI tract, right? So surface area wise. So if you can put molecular hydrogen all over your body, you'll absorb it best into your body. So they've got molecular hydrogen baths you can do. And then the last one would be inhalation. Those are a little bit more difficult at home because they're more costly. But it does the same exact thing. Take distilled water, shoots electricity through it, separates the hydrogen and the oxygen, mixes it into a tube, and you breathe it in. Now, all of these methods of delivery have different benefits for people. If you're breathing it in, it's probably going to affect your respiratory system a little bit more. It's going to get to your brain a little easier. If you're drinking it, it's probably going to affect your gut a little bit more, liver, detoxification, all those different organs, spleen, things like that a little bit more. And of course, if you have something like psoriasis or eczema, it's going to be best just to put it directly on there. And there's actually another one too. They've got now hydrogen misters, basically nano misters where you just can spray it. And there's also hydrogen based performance drinks. There's one that's called Hydro Shot. That's fantastic. It's actually been shown in the literature to prevent concussions and also help heal them. There's so much stuff with hydrogen that we're finding.
It's so fascinating. Well, I got to tell you, I have my hydrogen bottle, and actually I use the Echo. So we'll make sure that in the show notes, we post a link for people who want to buy the Echo so you know where to get it, because I do love that and actually have met with some of the founders and loved the technology before it even became popular. Yeah. So it is one that I use, and we did not coordinate that, just so that all of you know out there, but a good recommendation. You know what, Dr. Antonucci, this has been fascinating. I could sit and listen to you for hours and hours and hours, but we don't have any hours left. So we're going to take a quick break, listen to our sponsors, and then you know what's coming next. You know there's rapid fire questions. We've done this before. I have different ones. They will not be the same. So everybody hang tight, give us a minute, and we're going to see what he has to say. This is your weekly dose of Dr. Cindy, the Positively Altered podcast. Stop, hit that follow button now and spread the love with Positively Altered. And we're back for one of my favorite parts of the podcast, Rapid Fire. Dr. Antonucci, here we go. You ready?
Maybe. Last time it was brutal. I couldn't think of the answer to those questions.
Actually, I'm going to give you a really easy one. This is the first one. It's super easy.
That's what you did last time. They're all easy.
No, this one's easy. You ready?
Yeah.
What's your favorite body part and why?
Oh my goodness. Come on. Male or female?
Oh my gosh. I thought this was easy. I thought your answer was going to be brain. And if you say that one of us doesn't have one, I'm cutting off the questions. All right.
I mean, there's different body parts for different purposes that I like for different reasons. So.
Okay. Male. You can see it. There's no filter.
The brain.
Which one? The big one or the little one?
No, seriously. Now, if I actually think about it, yes, the brain is definitely my favorite body part. I mean, I built my life around studying it. It's absolutely fascinating, intriguing, and in every way. So, definitely my favorite body part.
Okay. Does it change if it's a woman then? What's your favorite body part in a woman?
No, I was just joking about that.
The brain.
The brain, absolutely. And male, females, boys, girls,
doesn't matter. See, I gave you an easy one.
It was a pretty easy one, but I was trying to.
Easy one.
I was overthinking it like I usually do.
All right. Well, don't overthink this. You ready?
Yes.
You know how we have to change our passwords? If you had to change your name, what would you change your name to?
Ooh. Do you know what? Probably Mike. I don't know why. It's because so many people have called me Mike. Funny story. My wife, when I first met her, she called me Mike for like 4 years, and I just never corrected her. It's like if she's talking to me, I don't care what she calls me as long as she's talking to me. So I don't know, probably Mike.
Listen, I love your wife and she's great. So I can see why you just tolerated that in order to keep her in your life.
She's amazing.
It was probably a good decision.
Yep.
Absolutely. Big shout out to Trisha. We just love her. So she's great. All right. If you could only use one mode of transportation to get you absolutely everywhere you need to go and never change, what mode would you pick?
Oh man, my dirt bike.
Okay, see, I knew that was going to be the answer.
That was an easy one. We talked about this last time, how I do motocross with my boys. I don't know. If you ride dirt bikes out there, guys, gals, whoever, you know what I'm talking about. It's just a whole different thing that you just don't understand unless you have one.
No, that's fair. All right. Last time I asked you what color you would make snow if it couldn't be white. So let's just change it up a little bit. What color would you make the ocean if it couldn't be blue?
Oh, man. That is probably the hardest question you've asked me out of all of this. Definitely not green, because I don't like when the ocean's green, and definitely not brown like it is where I grew up in Connecticut. Purple would be cool.
Purple would be cool. Ooh, I like that answer. See, I would have made snow purple, so I can jive with the purple. I love the purple.
Yeah, purple would be pretty neat, I think. Awesome. Could you imagine being on a boat and just looking down at purple water? I think that would actually be pretty spectacular.
I love that. And then when the sunset is all like golden and pink and purple too, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
If you were going to be the ruler of the universe, who would you trust to drive your chariot?
My wife.
Aww,
absolutely. She never steers me wrong. So I mean that. I'm not just kissing up. I mean, Trish is the best. And she always, like, whenever I'm thinking about doing something, that's not a good idea. And it never turns out to be a good idea. She's just always right. So
I'm glad you actually
she can totally drive my chariot.
That's a good thing that you listen. I love that. So 2 shout outs for your wife today. Yeah, I know. That's perfect.
She's going to love that.
All right. And last but not least, I usually ask you what your favorite thing about doing this podcast was, but how did this compare to the first one? Are you disappointed? Was it just as good? Do we do a third one? What do you think?
I mean, you're asking the wrong person. The people that are watching this should probably be answering that question. I mean, I thought it was just as good. I had a blast. I mean, this different topic this time. I feel like this time was a little more serious, a little more informative. I think we talked I was like deeper than the first time, which deeper could be good. Deeper could be not good. I don't know. I guess, what does everybody think? That's the question.
Yeah, it's very studious. So here's what I think. We'll see if there's any comments after the show. So everybody out there, feel free to send some comments. You know what I would love to do? I want to have you back a third time, and I want to go down the rabbit hole of like neurological health and sex.
Ooh.
What do you think?
2 of my favorite topics.
Sexual function. All right. So we're going to peg you in for the third one. All right. Real quick. I know people probably know this from listening the first time, but where can we find you? How do we get a hold of you?
Sure. So all my teaching goes through the Carrick Institute. We teach doctors how to basically fix people's brains. And their website is carrickinstitute.com. My website, my personal website is Dr. Antonucci. So it's DR and then my last name, ANTONUCCI.com. And that's where, sometimes professional organizations can hire me, patient care, all sorts of different things. Even all my classes are listed on there. So whether they're for professionals or even I do some lay people lectures and webinars and stuff like that. So if you like what you hear, then there's some blog posts on there where you can also find out how to hear more from me.
I absolutely love it. All right. For everybody out there, if you want to learn more about me, check me out at drscindyspeaks.com. Please pick up the book, Positively Altered, Finding Happiness at the Bottom of a Chemo Bag. And if you want 2 for the price of 1, we love to come do presentations together. So just a little plug for both of us, Matt, because, it's always a joy to be on stage with you.
Likewise.
I will tell you my favorite thing about doing the podcast is I actually learned a lot today. I don't know much about aerospace at all. I got a daughter that's a pilot. I know she goes up in the air. I hope she comes back down. That's about all I got. So I get to go to sleep tonight knowing I learned something, which is always brilliant. And spending time with you is always a pleasure. Everybody out there, please make sure you like and follow us. Send all your friends to this podcast because it's super informative. And I hope you are all positively altered.